Welcome to this special Radical Visions podcast. Today we are hosting Helen and Phil from the organisation A.B.L.E, and this is a special memory awareness training taster session, and we're happy to host this event. Helen and Phil are from an organisation called A.B.L.E, which I understand stands for A Better Learning Experience. And in a moment or two, they'll sort of say a wee bit more about themselves. Today's session is around things like, how does memory work? What are our personal strengths and weaknesses? Or what might our personal strengths and weaknesses be around memory? What techniques can we develop to support our memory? And there'll also be information, because it's a taster session, there'll also be information about how you could access the full training. We're going out live today, but we're also recording the event, and hopefully we'll be able to distribute and disseminate more widely after today. Helen and Phil will do a presentation, and then there'll be a chance for some questions and a bit of discussion. Just to say quickly what Radical Visions is up to at the moment, there's four things I was going to highlight. We'll continue to do consultancy work with some larger organisations around the services that they provide, mostly disability services or learning disability services. A lot of our time is taken up in advocacy work through a project that we have called Advocacy Plus, where we're helping individuals and families try to negotiate the current self-directed support world at a very difficult time. We're also working with one or two people where our role's a kind of brokerage one, where we're trying to put service plans into action, helping folk recruit individual personal assistants and help them think about how to manage the team that they have around them. So Emma, in particular, focuses on that kind of thing. My colleague Frances Brown is not able to be here today, but for the present, that's mainly who Radical Visions is Frances, myself, and Emma. One other thing, just to mention, that there's John O'Brien, who was a very significant person in the field of learning disability internationally. He died a few months ago, and there's a few of us involved in trying to get an event organised for next year, probably in March, to honour his memory, and also to just kind of think about how we can build on that in the current climate and the state of the world that we face. So there'll be more information coming out about that soon. So as the flyer said, Helen is a trainer, has worked in childcare and field of epilepsy, and Helen and Phil have a common experience of working at Quarriers. Phil, I think you were the chief exec at Quarriers, is that right?
Yes, I was, for my sins, at one time chief executive at Quarriers. That's really how I became involved with epilepsy services and consequently with memory. For a long, long time now, it's been very, very difficult to fund support services for people with complex epilepsy in the community. And I became very much involved in trying to keep those services alive at times when they were under threat. But I should emphasize also, by way of introduction, that we're not clinicians. My background is social work, and Helen will no doubt describe her own background in a moment. But we're coming at this from the direction of social support for people with epilepsy where there is none. And I know that's true of many forms of social care, but we've found that particularly an issue with epilepsy. Hence, we tried to start our own small charity in Lanarkshire, but that went the way of many charities during COVID, and we have had to dissolve the charity, and we're now operating as a small learning training organisation, which John has already mentioned, which is A.B.L.E. So we're very grateful to Radical Visions for this opportunity to say more about our experiences with memory training, and I'd like to hand over to Helen now.
Thank you. Okay, so my involvement in memory workshops and memory training all started with epilepsy, because I worked in the field of epilepsy, and I was part of a team that tried to support people with the psychosocial effects of epilepsy, and also training. So we did a lot of training, but a lot of people that have epilepsy have memory issues. If they have their epilepsy, their seizures take place particularly in their temporal lobes, if they have complex partial seizures and things like that. So I was very interested, and I studied a lot of myself, but I don't come from a medical background. So when I worked for Quarriers, I got involved with a neuropsychologist and a clinical psychologist, sorry, not neuropsychologist, clinical psychologist. And after we met with her, the team met with her, I asked if I could meet with her on her own. And I said, would you like to help me translate everything you've told us into normal everyday language? Because in my studies and my investigation, there's a lot of information about memory issues, but a lot of it is in the medical journals. A lot of it doesn't reach the people that are actually supporting people, or people that have memory problems themselves. So with Julia Clark, we set up the memory awareness training and the memory workshops. And that was training was part of the charity Lanarkshire Epilepsy, but a lot of this got sort of pushed aside when we were trying to keep the charity going. So now that it's died, and I've admitted it's died, we want to focus on the other training and things we can do. And the memory training and workshops is a wee baby in my lap that I want to get to grow a bit. So that's my main reason for being here today. Okay, first thing, the very start, please don't write this down, but I would like you to read it and then see at the end of the session who can remember it, and I'll show you a trick to know how to remember it. Okay, 2, 8, 2, 1, 5, 9, 4, 4, 3, 4, 1, 4, 2, 4. Okay, next slide. And this is just the leaflets that show you about the training that we do, the memory awareness training. It's really for people that are working with people with epilepsy, with memory issues. Most people that come say, oh, my memory is awful, I'm here. Everyone has memory issues. So the training day, it can really be anybody, but basically it's for people that are assisting people with memory issues. Okay, next slide. And the workshops are more for people that have memory impairment. And it's very important that their carer or family member or whoever supports them comes along, because a lot of the issues and problems that occur with people that have memory impairment is the lack of understanding regarding support. A big thing that a lot of people say to people with memory issues is, oh, you won't remember this. That's the worst thing you can say. They might have difficulty, but their memory will be in there somewhere. And if you can find a way to assist them. So it's very important. And the workshops we usually do in 2 or 3 short sessions, and go through a slower program with some information. Okay, next slide. Okay, so the brain quiz, I'll give you this. You can scribble it down if you've got a pencil, or I'll just go over it when you've answered the questions. If any of you know, this is, I love giving this out to let people see this thing that you have in your head that is amazing. So even if there's some damage to your brain, there's lots of areas of it that may still work. So how many neurons are in the human brain? Anyone know that? No. Okay, I've got to read it because I don't remember myself. It's actually 100 billion neurons in the human brain. How long would it take you to count them? 1 per second? If you're very quick, you can work that
out. No.
Okay, 3,171 years to count. So that's what's in your head. Okay. What is the approximate weight of the human brain? Anyone know? No.
2 pounds.
No, it is 1.3 kilograms, which is not, 1.3. I don't know what that works out at in pounds. And anyone know the weight of an elephant's brain? No, it is only 0.5 kilograms. So they've got a very small brain compared to us. And how quickly can information be passed through the neurons and the electrodes in your brain? Yeah. At 120 meters per second. That's quite amazing, isn't it, as well?
Mm-hmm.
And final one, it's the same as driving at what speed? This gives you a picture of how fast it actually can move. 286 miles an hour. That's how fast things can move through your brain. Okay, next slide. That's just to get your brains going. So memory, whose problem is it if a lot of people have memory problems? Okay, next slide. Down at the doctors, a lot of people tell me, and I'm aware a lot of times people go and they're worried, and very often people are worried, concerned it's the start of a form of dementia or whatever, and they go to the doctor, and the doctor very often tells them that they're stressed out, which they probably are very stressed out, but they combat things like the stress, not the actual memory problems. To actually get in to have a memory test, there's a lot of restrictions for that. So a lot of times, well, if you rest more, it will improve and things like that. And that can be very frustrating for a lot of people because it's not really covering their main concern. Okay, next one. So what is memory? Memory is your ability to store information and then find it again. We can all think of lots of things that we've done and we've completely forgotten. It's maybe in there somewhere, but we can't remember. And we get very frustrated if you're, after today, Louise, if I don't see you again and I think, oh, there was a lady there from up north. Oh, what was her name? And it's gone. It was there and then it's gone. So, but memories are made, sorted and stored. Okay, next slide. And how the memory works, the stages of learning, storage and retrieval. Next slide. And this is just to give you a picture of all the memory modes, because a lot of people say to people, or even feel themselves, my memory is awful. What is memory? There's lots of different areas of memory. So a certain area of your memory might not be very good, but there might be another area that is working really well. Or even if you think back to school days, some kids are better at English, some are better at arithmetic, because your number memory is in a different area of your brain from your word memory. So there's a lot of various areas and various things that you can work on. And just to give you a wee picture, because this is the kind of thing that I had read and thought, what is all this? So just to give you a wee picture on sensory memory, Sensory memory is very, very short-term memory. It's just something that's happened very quickly, and you don't move it anywhere and it'll go very, very quickly. It's a snapshot, like a smell or something might just disappear. It's extremely brief. And then short-term memory is stored for a limited period. And this is the area that a lot of people have problems with. A lot of people that have dementia, well, if you say something to them 2 seconds later, they'll have forgotten and you have to say it again. Or a lot of people with epilepsy, if they have temporal lobe epilepsy, that's the area that's affected by them. And it's very frustrating. It's very embarrassing if you can't remember people's names and things, and you can really worry about it. So short term is approximately 15 to 30 seconds, unless it's put in storage of long term. So that's how brief it can be. It's actually crucial though, because you have to have short term first before you can let it process into a longer term area in your brain. And long term stores vast amounts of information. You think the memories that you have are way back there, and sometimes it's seeing a picture, it'll come back out. And especially a lot of older people or people with dementia, they'll remember things from years ago, and they'll be able to tell you a story that happened years ago. My mum's 94. She doesn't have dementia, but she loves speaking about old times, and she loves looking at photographs. She's the last one in her family to be alive, so she loves getting all the old photographs out and talking through. And always behind a photo there's a story. Usually a photograph's taken at an event or something's happened, so that's a good way. So that's your long-term memory, and it often lasts for a lifetime. And then in long-term there are different areas. So long-term explicit is conscious memory of facts and figures. Implicit is the unconscious memory of skills and habits. You don't think all the time, well, I know how to stir a pot, but you know how to stir a pot. Somatic are facts and knowledge. So my husband's an engineer. And sometimes the conversation goes way off because he starts to tell me all the statistics of the measurement of a bridge or something. So all these things are somatic. Episodic are personal experiences that you remember. And then we go into retrieval. I think it's the next slide. No, sorry, you just go back. Retrieval. Is retrieval on that one? Oh, it is. Sorry, I've missed retrieval. Retrieval is accessing information from long-term memory. And that's where a lot of people struggle as well. So these are the different areas of human memory modes. Okay, next slide now. The wee quiz thing I gave you, questionnaire, to let you see how amazing the brain is. But the brain works very much like a computer. Like you have memory modes on a computer, and you can tell I'm rubbish in computers, so I looked this up and read it. Configure optimum performance. That's what it said when I looked up about working a computer. Dual channel modes, increased data speed, gear mode. You can do all that with a computer, and you can do that with your brain to some extent. Memory addressing modes, define instruction and find data. You press buttons on your computer and it does it. So you can do it in your own head, in your own brain, which takes work, but it's quite amazing. Okay. Next slide, please. So some laws of memory, and you'll know a lot of this. We remember things learned most recently, the best. When I get you to repeat the numbers back to me, very often people remember the first couple or the last few. We remember stories well that were interrupted by something drastic. You know, sometimes people talk to you and tell you something and they go away and you don't really remember it. Can you think of a time when somebody's told you something, I'll never forget that because it was so drastic? So things like that, if something terrible happens, you won't remember being with a person, but there was a bomb set off or something, knew where you were and you heard it, so you'll remember that. It's easier to find things if you've got a good filing system. We probably all know that from home, but it's the same in your brain if you have certain ways that you keep things. Normal memory gradually disappears. Words and numbers are usually forgotten in a few minutes from your short-term memory unless they're sent and stored in your long-term memory. And one of the classic ways of doing that is writing things down, and you can go back and read it again, or if you go over it a few times or associate it with something else to help you remember. Okay, next slide. No, that's okay. These are conditions that can cause memory impairment. Epilepsy, like I said, but lots of other conditions: brain injury, strokes, meningitis, encephalitis, damage, birth damage. These can all affect people's memory. Okay, next slide. Other factors that affect the memory, that this might not have damaged your memory, but things that can affect our memory: stress and anxiety. If you're stressed out, all you can think about is the thing that's causing you stress. You won't be able to remember. Depression, lack or disturbed sleep, and other health issues: menopause, thyroid, dementia, vitamin deficiency, diabetes. A lot of these things, and these are areas that people get very frustrated about if they go to their doctor and they say, well, there's nothing wrong with your memory, but because of this, it can maybe be corrected, but people find that difficult to understand. Also, drug and alcohol abuse can cause people to have brain injury and epilepsy. Mood, confidence and happiness increases the brain's ability to concentrate, take information and remember and recall it. So if you're very down, it's harder, but if you're quite happy, you're much more likely to hear. Just to give you another wee picture before we move on, when my colleague and friend Julian helped me digest all the information, when we started to do the training and things at first, I had this thing and I thought, this is so true. I used to say to people, are you the weakest link or the missing link? Because everybody's got weak links. You know, if you've read something or you're studying for something and you're so tired you can't think of it, if you go to bed and have a good sleep, or various things, like if you've gone upstairs to get something and when you get to the top of the stairs you think, what was I coming here for? So if you go back downstairs, sometimes you remember. So, but there's a lot of issues and things like some of the health issues, thyroid. My husband had to be put on thyroxine, and it was I found it quite funny. It's not really funny, but to see him a bit frustrated because he couldn't, because normally he's very sharp at remembering, he couldn't remember. So there's lots of different reasons, but this weak link or missing link, a lot of people find it difficult to accept, people that have memory impairment, to accept that anybody's memory can have problems, and they'll think, not like mine. But it's very much the same. The only difference is a weak link can be recovered, a missing link can't. So people that have had brain surgery or have had a stroke, that area in their brain for messages and memories to come won't work. It can't be repaired. They need to find another link. So, but you're either the missing link or the weak link. You can recover a weak link. You can't a missing link. You have to make another link. Okay, next one. Just finding support. Are any of you aware of anywhere where people can get support for memory impairment or training?
I'm guessing probably places like the Alzheimer's Society and things like that, for people with dementia.
Yeah. I know a lot of communities that do a lot of community work very often have a talk about memory and things for people. So there's a lot more interest. I mean, there's the statistics for people with dementia is much higher now. It used to be epilepsy was the highest, it's not, and dementia's taken over it because we're all living longer now. So there is a great concern, but there's very little actually information out there. When I started doing the training and we were working with people with that worked in support services, very often the main management had been trained, but the actual staff that were working with the people hadn't. And this was quite concerning. I mean, there were some incidences where I was really quite upset. Just to give you a wee example, there was a girl one day who said to me, the man she was caring for, she was told his memory didn't work and he couldn't speak. But it's all a lie, she said, he can. And when I asked her to explain, she said, well, one day I was with him on his own trying to get him to do something and he didn't want to do it. And he shouted a mouthful of foul abuse at me. Now, that she didn't understand, that was his emotional memory. It wasn't his word memory. If he tried to think of words, he couldn't speak. But so there's lots of different areas, and a lot of people that are caring for people don't understand that. And getting the right support is really difficult for a lot of people. Okay, next slide. So the information about memory, and an important thing is to get training out there for people. And there are some things, and you may well know a lot of these things already, but again, this is exactly the same for people that don't have memory impairment as it is for people that do. Creating the right conditions for the person you're trying to support or for yourself. Being prepared for hard work. Now, it's not just memory issues. This happens with a lot of medical conditions. If you say to somebody, there's probably ways that we could help, or there's ways that you could find assistance. Oh no, that won't work for me, is very much the answer you get. Or they don't understand, it's much worse for me than it is for them, they don't know. It's hard work, but you need to be willing to do it. And if you offer support to somebody, if they're not willing to receive it, then it's going to be very difficult to get that out there. But create the right conditions, being prepared for hard work, finding the correct support, and things like habit is very good to assist people. It takes 30 days to create a habit. So you can create a new habit in 30 days and you'll keep doing it until you make yourself stop. Okay, next slide. Being aware of the type of memory difficulty. Like I said it before about school, some kids are good at English, some kids are good at maths. There's lots of different areas. And another frustrating thing, like I said, people being told, oh, your memory won't work, you won't know this. That is very upsetting because that memory can get out if you help it get out. But it's hard work you need to be willing to do. So you need to know what area of memory people are having problems with. Okay, next slide. Identifying your memory strengths, and the next one. And there's lots of different areas. Okay, you can move on, thank you. So you have visual memory, verbal memory, spatial memory, sequences, music, and numbers. There's a time where my music memory is better than my word memory, put it that way. And for a while I had to start, we didn't have a pianist at church, and I had to start the hymns. And if somebody said to me, can we sing number whatever in the hymn book? And I looked at it, I didn't have a clue what it was. I had to get John to hum me the first couple of bars of the tune. Say it was a carol away in a manger. I could put the hymn book down, then I'll sing you the whole hymn, because I'm using music memory, not word memory. And music is an amazing thing. If you see people having tests for different areas of memory, certain areas of their brain will be functioning. You can see it if they're having an MRI scan. Music, the whole of the brain is active, which is amazing, I think. So before you help anyone or yourself, it's very good to know what's your strong area. And on the training days, we do questionnaire to fill this in, because most people, if they fill it in, nobody will be the same in all these areas. You'll be a bit stronger and a bit weaker in different areas. So finding which one is strong for you is very good. There was a workshop I did up north in Aberdeen with a colleague, and there was a lad there who didn't want to be there, and he had brain injury after a motorbike accident. And on the end of the second session, he said, I want to say something. And I thought, oh dear. But when he stood up, he said, I didn't want to be here, but my carer kind of pushed me to come. He said, and I'm really glad I came. He said, I love numbers and I haven't been able to do anything. He said, I could see that my number memory was still working, and they'd managed to get a computer game that he could do all to do with numbers. He said, I've not been able to do that for over a year. So that's reasons to get this sort of information out there, I think. Okay, next slide, please. If you're trying to support somebody, simplify the information. If you say 4 things, one after the other, they won't remember anything. So you need to make it very simple, deliver it in small amounts and reduce distractions. On the training day, another thing that we do is we have people split into groups, and some of them learn something very simply, and some of them, and this is in the training for people that don't have memory impairment, and then we have people that are very disrupted, and when they come back, the ones that were disrupted won't be able to tell you anything like the amount that the people weren't. It's very obvious. So confirm information has been understood, and this is the same in a lot of areas that we probably work in. You think people have understood what you've said, and very often they don't want to say, I haven't understood that, because of embarrassment. So it's very good to make sure that they understand. Encourage the use of associations. If somebody has brain injury and there's a link, as I said, damaged, you want to associate that memory with something else. So if you have been getting somebody to read something, a sentence, if you associate that with a picture, a visual imagination picture, then they can use that to get it back, and it helps. And use a variety of contexts to encourage generalization of things as well. Okay, next slide. Memory aids. And I mean, one of the things that's amazing that we all use now are phones, mobile phones. You can set your mobile phone an alarm or whatever, but all normal things like a routine. It's very good to be in a routine. Diaries and to-do lists, drug boxes for people that have to take their medication, notes, alarms, mobile, all these things, handheld computers. I mean, you can get a wee alarm to go off for anything. You know, it's time to have your coffee or whatever. That's quite a good one. Okay, next slide. Common aids, and these are very good. Gossip. If you meet somebody and they tell you a very interesting story, it doesn't really matter where you got it from. It's good to have heard that. That's an easy aid. And routine. A lot of people like routine. Obsession. When we hear that word, we think, oh, it's bad to be obsessed. But actually, for somebody to be obsessed with always doing something on a certain day, if it's take their medication, and they repeat to you 10 times, I've got to take my medication, well, that's fine, because it's good that they take it. Worry, it's not something good to have again, but actually if you're really worried or concerned about something, you'll remember it. I'm not saying that's something that we tell people we're going to do for them, but it's just to let you see this is an aid that you already have, that you can use if need be. Okay. The other slide next, thank you. That I try and tell people, stop limiting yourself. It's very embarrassing if you have memory impairment, and to actually encourage people to come out and maybe even say something in a group or whatever that they wouldn't maybe normally do. Don't limit yourself, don't pull yourself down, and don't be expecting to fail. Even if you do fail, don't always expect it. Help people take one small step that they've actually managed to do that, and remember that, and you encourage them for it. And it could be something really simple, like, I don't know, lock your door or something. If you're caring for someone and they leave the door wide open, if you can manage to get them into remembering they must lock their door, it's very, very good to encourage people and to stop limiting them. Okay, next slide. We're almost at the end. Start trusting your own abilities. See problem as challenges. If you can't manage something, there are ways around it. A lot of people, they they end up, they're almost buried in a wee chair and don't think they can get out of it. Nothing will work for them. They need the doctor to give them some medication or something. No, not that only. You need to work. People need to be willing to work, but people that support them need to be willing to work with them. It's actually easier if you're supporting someone, it's easier to do the explanation rather than encourage them to at least be part of that explanation. And if you help someone with that, both of you will have rewards for your efforts. If you're supporting someone and you take them somewhere and you see after you've helped them and tried to get them to understand, they can stand up and speak in public to somebody or something like that, that's quite amazing. But you need to, it's hard work and you need to be willing to do it. Any questions? That's the end of my slides. Anybody get any questions they'd like to ask?
Helen, that distinction between, yeah, and I'm demonstrating it as I speak here. Like, so as we get older, it can seem that we're losing track of things, or it's harder to retrieve stuff, and people start worrying, oh, I've got dementia, or I'm in the early stages of dementia. I mean, how can we discriminate between the two or distinguish the two, do you think?
The problem a lot of people have, their concern is that they haven't been as quick or they haven't remembered as much. It's not that your memory's maybe not working. It's sometimes you can be a bit overloaded, but the thing that's changed is we've still got it all in there and we can still get it out. We're much slower than we used to be. The older you get, it takes longer to get the memories to come out. And sometimes we need to encourage. And very often it's the embarrassment that you've had to do that. Mm-hmm. I remember once somebody telling me they were so embarrassed that they had to write things down. And I thought, how stupid is that? If you write things down, then you've got much more chance of remembering. So when we slow down, it's very embarrassing. But if you look at, the quiz programs that are on, if you look and that there's a team that is in the quiz, the people that answer the questions first are the young people. They're much quicker. They might not have as much knowledge. I've seen that in an older person who's very knowledgeable and had a lot more points, but they weren't as quick in answering the questions. And that's just to do with the speed. It's not that, so your memory is there. It takes a bit longer to get it out than it did before, rather than have anything wrong.
Yeah. There are quite a lot of groups around who they encourage people to dwell on their long-term memories as a sort of a therapeutic thing. Like there are clubs where they get people to think about old football teams and things like that, and remember old football matches, because it seems that people can remember, and that their long-term memory can remain much more focused than the short-term memory. Is that a therapeutic aid, or is that?
Yeah.
I mean, does that help?
I think it's been assessed that it is, because they used to think, oh no, that's not very good, but it is very good. If you go to a lot of nursing homes, we'll have reminiscence rooms.
Yeah.
And well, it's maybe not doing any good for people to remember all those things, but it's giving them a lot more relaxation and pleasure rather than, and also if you're working with them, to see somebody being able to sit there and talk about an episode in their lives rather than ask you the same question 10 times in 2 seconds. It's very encouraging, and they're using it a lot more. Yeah.
I'm interested in it is a part of memory, but it's referred to quite often. Well, I've been reading a lot about the menopause lately for fairly obvious reasons, because I'm that age. And it's talked about as word blindness as opposed to a memory issue. And I guess, Helen, probably everybody in the room will be able to relate to this as a trainer. Years ago, I used to just glance at a slide and it would roll off my tongue, and I could, make things up and followed threads. And if people asked me a question, I could find what they needed really quickly. And I can still do that. I know I'm doing it, but every now and then there's just a blank space. It's just, there just isn't a word. And it's so frustrating because I know what I want to say. It's not like I've lost my thread. I've literally lost a word. And that's really odd. But it's been described, it's often described as part of the menopause. So I don't know what's going on there.
I think it probably just slows things down again, the same as a lot of these things. Yeah. It's embarrassing if you can't remember something, but yeah, I don't think there's any damage being done. I think it just slows everything down again.
Hard work seems a bit counterintuitive. But then on the other hand, it just makes perfect sense that's what it will take,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's not, you wouldn't maybe say to somebody, I'm going to help you, but you need to work really hard. But you can assess when you speak to them if they really want to find ways to help themselves, or a lot of people, what they're really looking for initially is understanding. It's for somebody that will understand what they're doing. And maybe if you're with somebody, maybe the first few sessions you have with them is just to listen to them and try and understand, and then try and find out the areas, rather than say, well, we're going to work really hard. Poof, goodbye. They wouldn't want to be there. So but they have to be willing to do that. Like I said, the person I know, and it's her thyroid. She's got problems with her thyroxine, and thyroxine is quite difficult because if they level out the dose that you're on, that's better for you, it's maybe not assisting you as much, and it's very frustrating. And she just says, "Oh, that won't work for me. That won't work for me." So, what can you do? Yeah.
I thought the thing about association again is a wee bit. You kind of think, well, if you've got to make an association to help you remember something, that's an extra memory that you're building in. So again, it seems a bit counterintuitive, but then you know that it does work because you use it.
That's really interesting, John, because I do a lot of yoga classes, and my yoga teacher's been reading up and studying a lot about memory and kind of cognitive function. And when we're doing these kind of, sequences or flows of movements, she's introduced an associative thing, and she's trying to get us to say, okay, so the first part of the movement is you're in the porch, and then the second part is you walk into the house, and then the third part is you walk into the room. And it's just confused me completely because I remember the sequence, and I'm kind of like, why do I need all this as well? I know that I go from this move to that move. It works for me. My body's got it. So I agree, John. It feels like it's almost it's complicating things almost, but clearly there must be some research that suggests that it's a good idea.
Yeah.
It depends what area of memory. She sounds as if she's using visual memory. You're imagining a picture, a look, maybe a different area. That's maybe not your strongest area. So maybe a different area, like associating it with a song or something, rather than actual a visual. It's like when we drive around, if we don't know where we are, my husband John notices things like buildings and things in a street that I would never take notice of. And he says, oh no, we've been in this street already, that big church was there. So that's visual memory. So knowing what area helps you is a way to move forward with that. And if you think back as well, like if I said to you, oh, tell me the nursery rhyme, I don't know, can't think of a nursery rhyme, you'll probably all be able to say it, because that's using a sort of link with I don't know if it would be music or a repetition that back to your childhood, and you'll remember that. There was a thing on recently about dementia, an older man who doesn't really speak anymore and doesn't seem to understand any words. And if you take him to a piano, he'll sit there and play Mozart's Requiem or something all through the piano. Amazing.
We used to take my dad in the later years of his life. We used to take him to Singing for the Brain, which was an Alzheimer's Society thing, and it was absolutely astonishing seeing, not just my dad, but people there who would kind of some of them. Some people were a lot further forward in their dementia journey than my dad was, and they would kind of shuffle in, with a carer and look very lost and like they didn't really know what they were doing there and stuff. And then as soon as the music started, they would be singing and, getting up and dancing. And it was just incredible to see the impact it had on people.
Well, I'm just going to show you that right now. Who can tell me the list of numbers?
282.
Hang on, wait till I find it so that I see if it's correct.
And there's a 3 in there somewhere.
I would have said 281.
Oh no. There's definitely a 139 somewhere as well.
Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where's the list of numbers? Do you have the slide with the list of numbers on it, Emma?
Yeah, I'll put it back on if you want.
Oh, it's oh, let's go down here. I can't find it now myself. What I've done with it. Oh, I've got it here now.
Wait a minute. That's it. That's it.
Okay.
There you
Did
go.
anybody
282.
remember any of it?
You got the first 3.
You got it? Yeah.
You got it. Actually, a training day once at the end of the day, somebody got it. Okay, well, I tell you my secret how I get it.
Yeah.
Right. I'm dreaming of a white Christmas,
What?
just like the ones I used to know.
Okay.
Explain.
Okay, the words I'm 2, dreaming 8, of 2, a 1,
Oh Lord.
white 5,
Number of
Christmas
letters in the
9,
word. Right.
4. That's the words that
Wow.
so associated. I need to think about it. I'm 2, write it down, but that's how I would remember it.
Yeah.
So there are ways to remember that's maybe more complicated, but you can associate things like that.
Yeah.
Julia, that I used to work with, she's told me some interesting cases of people that came for memory tests to be diagnosed. And she said there was a man there once, and he was a very learned man, an older man, but he was very knowledgeable and learned and had studied loads of degrees and all the rest of it. And every time she did a certain test with numbers, he got it right. And she couldn't understand how he was managing to get it correct. And eventually she said, okay, tell me your secret. What is it that you've done, that you're doing? And he said, when I read it, I tap one finger with the number, the next one with the number, and the next one. And I know how many times I tapped each finger. So he was using movement to help him remember the numbers. He couldn't remember the numbers if he just read them, but he found a way to do it, to associate it to something else. So if you associate it to music, you'll remember.
I knew there was the 424 in there because they're like a football formation.
Oh,
So
I wouldn't
it's
know
weird.
that.
It's weird the way your brain works, isn't it?
I wouldn't know that.
Is there any particular reason why you would show it as a column rather than as a row?
No, not really. That's just how I
Oh.
typed it up.
Okay. I thought there was maybe some secret message there.
But so that I remember what words I have to say.
Yeah.
Okay.
You've got to be able to spell, though.
Yeah. I made a few mistakes a couple of times that I was doing the sessions and I got it wrong. The numbers. I had to add an extra letter to the word dreaming. It's I just find it so interesting myself, because a lot of people that come in the training sessions say that's really helped me themselves, although I'm trying to get the understanding about it out to them. But everybody's got memory issues, and it is very frustrating if you can't remember things or find a way to cope with it.
Mhm. I think making new links is an interesting. I mean, to be able, even just to understand that your brain can make new links. So you were saying about the missing link. Okay, so you need to create a new one somehow, and obviously that's an unconscious process.
Yeah. Yeah, we probably all do it, but actually training somebody up to do that. The training days are quite good because I do a lot of like role play and things, acting out, and we actually, a lot of it we do anyway. We all do it, but it's actually seeing, oh, that's what I can do that will really help. That is the message to get out. But yeah, it's the weak link and the missing link. It's difficult to get people to accept that, but basically it works the same. The only difference is if you've got a missing link, you're going to have to work a lot harder because you can't repair that area, but you can find another area if you're willing. I'll give you another wee, since we've got some time. This is a picture that somebody told me once. This was a father of a family. He had dementia and he got home and the family couldn't stop him. Every morning he was up at 6 in the morning and opened all the doors in the house because his work all his life was in a railway station. Right. Many years ago, he set everything up, and every morning he had the front door open and he was out, and the family thought, what are we going to do? So it wasn't me, they were sharing this. The carer had thought, there's something that he does all the time to try and get it into his mind, because he knew this was a habit, that he had to do this every day. And so like when he saw a door, he just opened it. And she said, "What? Let's try put a sign up, ladies, in the inside of the front door." Mm. And he thought, what difference will that make? Well, he didn't clean the toilets. He wouldn't go in. It was in that generation. He wouldn't go into a lady's toilet. Mm. So the next morning they all got up and he hadn't opened the door. And they said to him, "What about this door, Dad? You haven't unlocked it." "That's the ladies' toilet. I don't go in there." So using that habit and helping by some way, it's just amazing. I think things that you can do.
And I guess, you were saying about having a questionnaire and stuff. I'm guessing you've got, obviously you've got ways of helping people to assess which is their strongest memory functionality or memory mode, I think you called them. And then I guess once you've armed with that information, you can use that mode to help you in it. So for example, you're singing, you were talking about music being obviously a strong memory mode for yourself. So singing to help you remember those numbers works really well for you. Whereas I guess for somebody who's stronger, one is I don't know, spatial or sequences or something like that, you would have a different approach to helping you remember the same information.
Yeah. It's just finding out what area of yours is actually working well. So what do you need to improve, or what can you use to assist? Yeah. It's a bit like dance as well, movement. Dance, a lot of people that can manage to get up and do a dance that they learned years ago, like when you do if you have a Ceilidh, can you all remember the Gay Gordons or whatever, because you used to do it years ago. I don't know if that might help your memory, but it makes people feel good. They've managed to do that when they haven't been able to do anything. So yeah, finding out what area is works good for you is good to know.
I remember when my mum, my dad died, and my mum had dementia, and she would regularly ask, "Is your dad dead?" And you would reply, and then she would ask you again, and you'd reply. And then I got to the stage of wondering, is that what you do? Do you just keep saying, do you just keep replying? Does it help?
Yeah, it's difficult to know.
It is. It's really interesting because I worked in a hospice for a number of years, and the hospice policy was always you tell people the truth, and even if that means you tell them over and over and over again, and they get upset over and over again, it's what you do. That was our kind of way of working, person-centered, respecting people's where they're at and all of that kind of stuff. Sure. But there was one particular lady, and we at a multidisciplinary team meeting one week, we decided to tell her husband was coming to visit because she was just distraught every single time she found out that her husband was dead. She was absolutely distraught. And we had to deal with that. And she was sick. She was dying. She was at the end of her life.
Yeah.
But if we said to her, it's all right, it'll be in later, we'll be in after lunch, absolutely fine. She would
It's
just be
fine.
calm. And then after lunch, she'd say, isn't he coming? Oh no, he's coming after tea. And we all felt absolutely awful because we were
Yeah.
lying to this lady, and it went against everything that we knew to be correct and right and dignified for her and everything else. But actually, what was more dignified for her was not having to literally grieve her husband anew repeatedly every single day.
Yeah.
So I guess it's one of those situations where you do what feels best for the person.
Yeah. You're making a judgment there about how
Yeah.
distressing this is for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah. Same.
Horrible.
I worked in a psychiatric hospital on the locked ward with some very, psychotic patients, and I quickly discovered. I was there as a volunteer initially, and I quickly discovered that this was a general practice by the nurses to control patients would be to just sort of play along with their delusions quite often,
Mhm.
It seemed totally wrong, but it was the only way they could manage them
Mhm.
without keeping them so sedated that they were virtually in a coma,
That's interesting.
Very
Yeah.
difficult.
Aye. Yeah.
Fascinating stuff.
So Helen, Phil, what if people were keen to access the training itself, what should they do? Could they do?
On some of the leaflets and things will be our emails and phone numbers. So if they just contact us by email or phone number, we can arrange something. Yeah. And anybody that's interested, I'm quite happy to go along and give a wee short presentation if they want, or it can vary. It doesn't need to be one full day training. It can be a shorter session if need be.
But that typically would be what you would offer as a full day's
But
session with
it
a
can
group of
go up
people.
to a full day's training, yeah. And then the short sessions for people with memory impairment and a supporter.
Okay. So we'll make sure that we put the email address and phone numbers in a prominent place when this goes out to folk.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
final thoughts or questions? Are we happy to finish? Thank you very much to both of you. And Lou, thank you for being with us today. Emma, you've been very quiet, but any...
Thank you, Emma, for all your work.
She looks frozen.
It's fine, I am here. I'm just, some of the time there's been a baby screaming in the background, so
All
didn't want to hear that. So
okay. Right. Okay. Okay. Well, thanks everybody, and
Thank you.
hopefully
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
take care.
Bye.
Bye.